This is going to be my favorite episode because Stu and I fundamentally have disagreed for a
We
change.
did. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hey Ex Friends We Got This podcast, where we share our thoughts on the pharmacy profession, experiences as healthcare providers, and explore our identities as two women of color going after it all.
Hey, as we share our stories, we hope you laugh, maybe cry, and feel inspired as you get to know us. Because at the end of the day, friends, we got this.
Hi. We do. Oh my goodness. Well, how's it going?
Whew. Oh, it's going. It's busy.
Yeah, it's busy.
It's very busy, but
busy
doing good stuff.
Yeah. I actually wanted to do a quick shout out to a concert I went to yesterday. Mount Joy. They are like an indie folk band.
Okay.
I listen to all sorts of music. Indie folk is one of them, and it was so good, so inspirational. You know how like when you see artists do their work and they're like so good at what they do, I'm like, I want to be a master of my craft too.
No,
I want to be a master of pharmacy.
It's like, see,
I was
following you. I was right there. Like, I get it. And then you went too far, like, pew, right? Master of pharmacy. Let's leave that to other people. It's so boring. Let's master other things within pharmacy. And you're doing great. Like, you're so awesome. Oh, hey guys, have you checked out the latest episode of The Real Housewives of PBM? You should be.
It's the Halloween one.
It's the Halloween one.
That's a good one.
It's getting just, after a while, like there'll be a whole chronicle of it and people can like binge the entire series. I think it's so cool that you're doing
I would love that. Yeah, I would love that. And then, I don't know, any other life updates? I am training for a half marathon, which is a crazy thing to even do for me. I'm like, what? I barely run. So yeah, that's something that I'm training for. The race is in January. And so if anybody has any tips for me, leave it down in the comments below.
Okay. Well, I have so many questions. Every time I just run after Jadena, I'm like, this is it. This is how I die. So I can't even imagine that you're doing. I've always thought about it like, so something I do every year when the match ranks are submitted, there's a 2 weeks period of just stillness. It's quiet. There is nothing going on. There's nothing to write, submit, review, practice. Yeah. We're just waiting for the match outcome. And I'm so anxious during those 2 weeks where I say, I want to learn how to do something new. I want to pick up something new. Like last year, I crocheted a blanket for Jadena. I learned how to bake banana bread. I learned how to post videos on YouTube. I learned how to use Canva. Like I pick something that I want to learn how to do. And some years I think I'm going to start running. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie.
Well, cardio is kind of scary to get started because you do feel so like, you can tell that you're very out of shape when you first start, when you're like huffing and puffing for like the first 5 minutes or so. So it's like something that you really have to push out of like a physical comfort zone, which you don't really experience when you play around on YouTube and so like the discomfort is really significant. So I think it's a good challenge to have though, it's a good challenge. Maybe you could like learn how to run a mile after those 2 weeks, because to go from 0 to a mile in 10 minutes, I think that's a good challenge. You can walk real fast for a little bit and then you can start kind of jogging and then stop, and yeah, it'll be fun.
Oh boy. For all the runners that are out there, I want pointers. Could this be it? Could 2025 be the year where I do it? Could it? Like, I'll keep you guys posted as I pray and meditate over this one.
No, but actually, you know what? I think if you're anxious, cardio, I think, is kind of the better way to go, because it really helps with the endorphins and just like,
no, the benefits of it are not lost on me. It's just that I'm always thinking like, this is it. This is how
you're gonna die. Yeah, totally. I'm dead. Yeah.
You have to update us. You have to keep us updated on your, like, the your Instagram page, like do your video vlog as your
Not gonna
like
lie, I kind of have a little plan
you do.
happening in the
Good.
background, talking about how I'm gonna reach, like going from a couple of miles to like 13 miles, which is half marathon. I'm like, this
Oh,
is crazy, but I will keep you updated.
we
I
are rooting
might,
for you
yeah,
and whatever the little thing you're planning, I'm sure it's gonna be awesome. But bring us along on this one because I'm genuinely fascinated by
it's
runners
gonna be
and
good.
people who do it. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
What are we talking
For
about today, though?
oh, it's so today, the conversation today and what inspired me to want us to exchange on this topic, it's because of some of the things I've been getting in my inbox. And it's just about how do we acquire professional confidence? It's this thing that majority of the time, like, let me ask you,
Are there
what do you
specific,
think?
how do they specifically ask you? Because professional confidence is such a broad term. Like, what is
And
it that
that's
they're
where I want to
struggling with?
start. So
Yeah.
that's where I want to start. To the best of your understanding, what do you think or what does it mean to you? Like hearing it as a broad term like that. What are some thoughts and or adjectives that it ignites for you?
Well, before I answer you, if you are watching on YouTube, please like the video, subscribe, and write in the comments below. What does professional confidence means to you? And do you feel like you have it? If you're listening to us, please write and rate, write a review and rate us. I guess the rating system does help us be more like, what is it? Like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Discoverable.
Oh, discoverable. Yeah. Oh my God. See, I'm so bad at this part. Let the people know why we are the best companion when you're walking your dog or doing your
Yeah.
dishes and just all these little errands that you have to do. Have us bring us along. We're going to entertain you. We're going to make you laugh. We're going to make you cry. We're going to make you do all sorts of crazy things. So let's join in the fun, you guys. But back to your question, I would say professional confidence for me would mean that you just feel, I guess, more confident at work. I don't know. I think that like you kind of, I don't know if you'll ever defeat imposter syndrome. I think imposter syndrome is just something that will always kind of be there.
Yes.
But I think that you have kind of like, you can like have imposter syndrome, but like ignore it better. I think maybe
Yeah. So,
overcome the noise a little bit better.
right? And and the question then is, what are some ways that we do that? And so the idea of professional confidence, like plainly put, is how comfortable you feel at being able to do what you're called upon to do at work.
Mm.
When people expect you to take care of all the kinetic dosing at work, how confident are you that I'm definitely your girl to do that? Like, I got that. I got that for you. I got that handled for you. And in our profession, where we literally go in phases of where we go professionally as a student, there's the first year student, and then there's the fourth year student, where the expectations for how they function is different than if you were a second year student. And I'm not going to be as harsh and unforgiving that you don't know certain things, where if you're a fourth year, I will just halt right there and then and force you to go deep dive on something that I thought should have already been understood. But it's really just the confidence for you to be able to do what you are called upon to do at work. And so what happens is, for residents, and what I'm noticing in my inbox is, the PGY 1 year, they struggle with certain transitions. First of all, it's the transition of getting licensed in time, but they assume that their residency doesn't really start until they become licensed, which I always cackle. And I'm like, there is so much for you to do that doesn't require your pharmacy licensure, and your program will specifically design it so that you are working
Well, you're
and
not
growing.
slacking off though.
Exactly.
You can't.
she's laughing. She's laughing at y'all.
You know, you guys legitimately, you guys don't think that residency started because you're not licensed?
Yes.
Ooh, no, 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 no. Bad
Exactly. Like,
idea. Bad idea.
bad. So it's like this jarring thing for them where it's like, but I'm not even licensed yet. And I'm like, and your point is what?
Yeah,
Like,
that's not your resident though. Like, there's no threshold. What if I? Anyways,
there are too many examples of things that you are going to be able to do without being licensed that the program is going to press upon you. And then they become licensed, and then it's very shocking that things just take off. So I'm kind of wondering, like, okay, to me, to me, I go through all of the stress and the headache of pursuing a residency, and I secure that residency and I get there. The last thing I expect when I receive some of these messages is that they're surprised at how hard it is. They're surprised at how
what?
demanding it is. Yes,
Why would you be surprised? I don't understand though.
exactly.
Okay,
So
but like how why is that so different than when went into residency and I'm like, okay, this better be the hardest year of pharmacy so that I can then take everything I learn and move on and do well. Like, why is that so? Why has that mindset changed so much?
shift it. I think it's person dependent.
Ah,
Absolutely, residents who go in and they are definitely prepared for the year to kick their butt. Some of them that excites them even because they're like, you know what? I'm definitely going to learn and grow a lot here. There's not going to be such thing as I'm cruising through or I'm comfortable. But for others, and this is where, and I know that like people make fun of me about that, but I harp on the question of why are you pursuing a residency the way I do? Because it gives me an opportunity to have some really honest conversation with some people right off the break. If you're doing this because your girl clique at school, everyone's applying,
a girl
you
click. What? Oh, by the way, buy your girl click friendship bracelets from our merch store, RX shop,
I
rxfriendshop.com.
.com, yes.
Get the study crew friendship bracelets, please. Thank you. Okay, continue.
We do have merch to support your girl clique, but not in your endeavor for residency. We will not support you applying for residency because everyone in your circle of friends is doing it. Those people, when they land in a residency program, they're the
Are you gonna
first
tell
ones.
me that there are legitimate people who go into pharmacy residency and they're like, "Why is this so hard?"
Yes. It's a
Like,
resounding yes with a period because I don't have any
and
further comment on that.
what do they do when they're like, "Oh my god, this is so hard"? Do they struggle? Do they just figure it out, or do they quit? Do you know?
So I think all those have been outcomes that I've observed. The smart ones, they realize, like, okay, I wasn't prepared for this, but I think I have what it takes to do it. And when people like that reach out, I'm always thinking, what you need is a mentor. What you need is a mentor. You need someone who's gone through this successfully. They may even have horror stories for you to make them a little bit more relatable so you don't look at them like, oh, they're so perfect, they know everything. But they'll tell you, like, my residency pushed me, it was hard, like I had a lot of days where I was unsure of myself. Like, they're able to share those things with you so that you find them a little bit more relatable. But the smart ones, they know that it's time to probably seek an external voice and bring someone else in that can help reframe their mind and help them get ready. Because if you are in residency and you're shocked by how difficult it is, you're already behind the curve, behind all of the other people that matched for residency, and they came in and they knew what time it was. They were like, yep,
Can we then
this.
set a standard that pharmacy residency should be hard? And if you're in
Oh,
a program that you don't feel like is challenging you, then, I mean, you're already there. But
yeah, you need to know that they're not doing you justice.
yeah, there you go. There you go.
They're
You
not.
should not be cruising like you did maybe in pharmacy school. I mean, pharmacy school is also hard. Like, don't
Yeah,
get me wrong.
yeah,
But residency is supposed to be very difficult. Like, I don't know why you would think that it's not. I don't
not.
like what. imagine yourself a year after residency. You're
Hmm.
supposed to be practicing now and taking care of people. Do
Yeah.
you want to have training that does not prepare you for that?
Yeah.
And I
Question.
guess hard is like a little bit vague because hard as
It's
in
relative.
what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it
It's relative.
it's relative.
Because
Like I
I
don't know
have
what they mean.
candidate, it's relative. I agree with that 100% because there are some people, the hard part of residency is the newness of everything. New city, new people at work, new job. And I always tell them this part too. Yes, relocation is hard. Relocating in a city where you know no one, it's hard. But this wasn't a relocation that came yesterday and you were told you have to go. You picked, you went and submitted a rank. You made
You did this to yourself. Just kidding.
you
I'm
made
just
a
kidding.
few choices that landed you here. I would have thought that when that ranking process started, you thought about what your plan was going to be to help acclimate to a brand new city that may have a brand new culture.
Can I tell you a story?
Yes. Story
Okay.
time.
Story time. I did my PGY1 in Indiana. Did I want to go to Indiana? No. Do I know where Indiana was? No. I legitimately have never thought about the Midwest ever living
Wow.
in the United States. I see the West Coast, the East Coast, and that was it. Sorry guys, in the middle. Like, you guys are like the middle child. Like sometimes you get forgotten.
Yeah.
Um but I literally moved there. I'll tell you I moved to Indiana with when I moved to Indiana, me and my dad, we flew Southwest. So each of us got two suitcases. So I think in total, I think I got four suitcases
Yeah.
brought brought there. And my dad and I flew to Indiana together. I got an apartment the next day. And it was like July 4th because I remember like right before I got my apartment, I was standing outside of the hotel room and there was like fireworks going on and there were other people in the hotel that all came
Oh,
out and fireworks was going off and I was like, okay, this is the start of something new. Like this is
yeah.
the moment, right? We moved to my apartment the next day. I went on Craigslist and basically got all this random ass furniture, me and my dad,
Yeah.
and like a U-Haul truck that we borrowed from Home Depot. Like we just put
Yeah.
it all in there and it was just me and my dad and we moved into that apartment all in one day. He helped set up some sort of like dresser cabinet thing for me and then he left the next day and that was fucking it. I
Oh,
was there
wow.
on my own. This was the first time that I've moved out of the house.
Yeah.
Um, or yeah, I mean, I lived in the dorms for a little bit, but this was the first time, like me as an adult, like living in a city that I know
Yes.
nobody. I came
Yeah.
from Arizona, which was a desert, to the Midwest, which is not a desert. Like you're talking about weather conditions that I'm
Yeah.
shocked by. I'm like, how does this snow thing work? Like this is bizarre to me. I did not know that
Oh my
snow falls and then
gosh.
it becomes nasty after a couple days. And if you park for too long, it becomes ice and you have to like dig yourself out. I didn't even
Yeah.
know that like when you clean out your car, you should also clean like the top of your car, like the
Yes.
snow. Because I did it and I'm driving and it's like flying everywhere.
I know.
And I'm like, this is bizarre to me. This is so bizarre. And, you learn
Wow.
about things like black ice and like driving
Yes.
and skidding and scary stuff like that. And
Yes.
I had to learn all of it. And I knew like one other person living in Indiana, and she lived like an hour and a half away from me. So I visited her twice. But in
Yeah.
terms of friendships, like I had to make my own group of friends.
Nice.
I
Yes.
was the only resident at my site also. So I
Yeah.
reached out to other residency programs and I remember writing this really awkward email that was like, "Hi, this is me. I would love to meet you and your co-residents. Could we meet up somehow?" And became friends with
Yes.
some of those guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had to do a lot of things. Like
Yeah.
I was the first resident too of that program. I had to work
Yeah.
every other weekend. I had to do so many things, but
Many
you
things.
you have no idea how exhilarating that was for me. Like that was such a phenomenal experience for me that year. Like I
Yeah.
left Indiana crying and it was so crazy because the
Oh.
day I left Indiana, it was July 4th weekend and in my apartment they had like a whole fireworks thing, and it was
Yeah.
just like a legitimate just like full circle where I'm sitting outside my apartment with a friend of mine, and he was helping me move, and there were just fireworks, and I'm like, okay, this
Yeah.
was the best decision that I have ever made my entire life,
Yeah.
to pack up, go somewhere new, and force myself
So,
to do stuff that, it's not hard though. It's not.
yeah.
It's uncomfortable. But if you see that as hard, then that is the mindset that you've decided to choose. But you don't have to pick that mindset. You can choose other adjectives. You can say, this is exciting. This is
Yeah.
new. This is an opportunity.
Yeah.
You don't have to pick the word hard. And
Yeah.
are there hard some days? Heck
Yeah.
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 There are days that I'm like crying, and there are
Yeah.
failures that I've gone through in residency, but I always get so annoyed when people are like, wow, you did a residency and now you have this career that you feel really happy in, and I can't do that because of X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, first of all, I fought tooth and nail to do that.
Yes.
And I have fought so hard for the career that I wanted.
Yes.
And not only that, like every step of the way, I'm happy. Like right now, working as a clinical pharmacist, anytime I feel a little bit of doubt, a little bit of insecurity about like my abilities to do anything, I go back to that year, you guys. I go
I
back
know.
to that year and being like, that girl has gone through so much and
Much.
has learned so much, and she's so incredible that like anything that I'm doing right now, I can do it. You know what I mean? I
Exactly.
go back to that
And
year.
you touched on a few things that I just don't want to let like just fly by, because for you, it's probably just like that's just what I did. But number one is there it wasn't a passive process. There was some intentionality behind your choices. You didn't match at phase one and you went after it to get this residency position. So there was some literal blood, sweat, and tears put into the moment of I'm going to Indiana, that makes it a very different experience for you, because you knew that this was not about what you deserved, but what you had earned. That forces you to
What I
think
wanted.
what you wanted,
Yeah.
right? And you done you done a few things that other people did, and it worked out for them first round and didn't for you. And you no, there was nothing accidental about how you got to Indiana. I think that
Mm-mm.
that makes a huge difference. Like the process of how you actually land the residency program can make you think inaccurately that that's the way the rest of the journey is going to be. And I see it a lot. It's not. The second thing you talked about is like our minds and the choices and the words we use and the words we espouse to different things. It's hard. It's unreasonable. It's toxic. The adjectives that we use to describe certain things can be incredibly powerful in shaping the way we see and react and respond to them. Like, you're not here saying that Indiana was all roses and flowers and like you sent an once awkward email and that resulted in best friends for life. And
Nope.
that's not what happened. That's not what
Took me a long
happened.
time to weave my way into that group, let me tell
Did
you.
that right?
Six
Because
months.
that's just how people are. It's like, okay, rando, who are you? But we'll allow
Totally.
it. We'll
Totally.
allow it till we can figure out where you stand and where you fall. But I think that this is where like our society's transition to virtual everything has kind of affected the newer generation of pharmacists. The idea that you have to actually engage with people, connecting with people. Let's set up brunch, let's set up coffee. They're quicker to set up virtual coffee than to say to someone who's 20 minutes away, let's meet up and sit down and talk where you can see me, I can see you, and have a conversation for 20 minutes or so.
Mm.
Virtual tends to be the preferred method of building relationships. And so that's the other thing you talked about that I think is very important. For my story and like doing hard things, my perspective around what's called hard was shaped involuntarily, right? Because when something monumental like a chronic illness comes into your life so early, like it's pre-adulthood for me. I was a teenager with a chronic illness that grew up with that chronic illness and have entered a professional realm with the chronic illness. So I'm not easily like shaken to my core when things are rolling out. Like when things are happening, I may look like a deer in headlights for a second because I'm probably just like, is this as outrageous as it looks to me? Like, is this really what we're doing? But once that shock wears off, I am immediately processing what I need to do to make sure that I'm showing up and responding accordingly. And what I want to share with like anyone who is, if you're a PGY1 or transitioning into a PGY2, it's the fact that you have got to make sure and understand, not make sure, but understand that you have more power than you think and how you respond to the things that go on around you. You're in a residency program, they're not organized, or they told you that certain things would be paid for. You come and find out that they're not paid for. Residency programs and the politics and the structure and all that. You're not going to be the person that changes that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I'm like I feel like I'm bursting a bubble and making blasphemous statements. Like, you're not going to be the person that comes in and changes that. The best thing you can do is that you know how to advocate effectively for yourself, to secure the resources that you need for yourself in order to make sure that you are successful. But what I am seeing and hearing a lot of is kind of like, everyone is going to the worst case scenario folder instead of the proactive folder of, here's the card I've been dealt. This is what I need to do.
I feel like you're being very vague with everything. I don't know what you're talking about. I still don't understand what the problem is. What is the problem exactly? Like, what are these people having issues with?
Well, they're getting into programs where they were told mid-year would be paid for, and now it's not.
Okay.
They're getting into places where they were told that they would be going to mid-year, and now they are not going to
That's
mid-year.
shocking. I thought that mid-year is part of it.
I know. They thought,
What
like, you would think
happened?
that everyone wants to have their program there and represent it, but
I thought
this
that
is
you
the
are
second
supposed
year.
to. This is new then. This is new,
It may
right?
be. I'm
Because
hearing it like last year I heard it a lot less, and this year
I thought like the
a
program,
lot
I
more.
mean,
That's false advertisement. Like that's the thing that always comes to my mind when they reach out with stuff like that. I'm like, that's false advertisement. Like that's not
but
right.
like I thought that that was part of the budget though for them.
I know, and those budgets are the ones being cut.
Yeah, and like if you go back and listen to our
CMS and
residency episode, you can kind of understand why some of those budgets are being cut, so you can kind
yeah,
of give your program a little bit more grace.
yeah.
But yeah, that is disappointing. How would they even, how would you recommend they address that? Like how
They
would they even
address that.
advocate for
It's
themselves if the program doesn't have any money?
any money. Yeah, there's no way. But I think also I find it that some when I say advocating for myself sometimes or advocating period, I don't necessarily expect a change in outcome when I do that. Most of the time the thing that makes me feel better is making sure that my feelings, thoughts and sentiments around that situation is well documented and I've been heard on it. And I really encourage people to do that because that's most people's line of thinking. It's like, it's not going to change anything. Well, we don't know that because I've gone in before fully armed with this is a no, this is not going to change anything. And something that wasn't going to be paid for at all of a sudden, I'm getting, well, if you can secure your stay, we'll pay for registration. Where in the
That
beginning,
makes sense. That makes
all of it
sense.
was off the table, right?
Oh, okay.
You understand? So I
I think it's
encourage
cheaper
them.
too for residents. Like the
It is
registration is
cheaper.
cheaper.
It's much cheaper for residents to
So
go
I'm really surprised that programs can't even afford to pay that. I
to
want to
pay
say what,
that.
like
Yeah.
$200-300?
I think it's less than $400, but inflation, because
Yeah, yeah, and there's like six of them. So it
yeah.
adds up. It
So
adds
there's
up.
There's a lot of them.
Oh,
But
it's
that's one
hard.
thing.
Yeah, you're right, though. It is really hard because there's a
It's
lot of
hard.
administrative stuff going around. And when it
Yeah,
comes to budgeting, it's like there's not much that programs can do if there's a limited resources as well. Like they also have limited resources.
they
But
do.
again, it's like, are you really doing a residency so you can go to mid year for free?
But mid-year is an important period, especially for those interested in a PGY2 if their
Oh,
residency doesn't early
100%.
commit,
100%. If you want to do
right?
a PGY2, then you have to go to mid
You
year. Yeah,
have to
you have
go.
to.
And so it's for some, it's more complicated than we can't afford for you to go because on this salary you gave me, I didn't budget that I have to cough up 2-3 thousand to be able to go to mid-year,
That's a
and I
lot.
have to pay for PPS and I have to
Oh,
pay for my flight, my
wait,
stay.
PPS, you have to pay for that?
Oh yeah,
I don't remember paying for that. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
ASHP, why are you making these kids pay for
yeah.
PPS? Like it's
I'm
already
pretty
there.
positive it's like
Oh,
you
you
pay to
should just
play.
do it virtually. Just, just bypass HSP.
I like I could just do it virtually.
Wait, what else do they complain about? Please share so we can
Please
address
share.
them
Okay.
specifically.
Well,
Yeah.
some of the residents struggle with belonging. They
Ooh.
don't feel like the program they're fitting in because we talk
Mm.
about fitness a lot, but we talk about fitness with does it meet your goals? Is it going to help you become that PGY2 extraordinaire? Is it going to help you become the clin specialist extraordinaire?
Maybe
But we
we.
never talk about fitness in terms of both cultural and identity fitness. Like if you're in a department where it's all the top three of the department are all male, two out of the three are all Caucasian, and you're not Caucasian, you're anything other than Caucasian, you may struggle. Um, if you are Black women in general, or the ones in my inbox struggling the most with belonging, I think for the first time ever, I'm speaking with a Native American and an Asian that, or I think why did you make that face? Or
I'm
if you're
Asian.
watching on YouTube, or if you're not
I'm
watching
Asian.
your YouTube, you need to go watch on YouTube just to see how she lit up. She was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's me. That's
If you've
me.
never seen my face before, I'm Asian, by the way.
I'm Asian." She's like, "I'm Asian, by the way." Yeah,
Okay, so wow. Okay, so a lot of it is race related then, or is it
yeah.
something
They
else?
they're struggling, and I
Mm,
identify with this a bit.
you
Um,
do. I do a
I
little bit.
do.
I do a little bit.
Yeah, I think that my passion for Resi Prep stems from wanting to get more people of color residency trained. I know that the candidate of color is the candidate that has the most challenges with socioeconomic burden of applying to residency, and also the challenge of connecting with the right people to help them make themselves stand out. So I work a lot with those students. I work with all students, but I work a lot with those students to help them understand the questions you need to ask during your interview so that you're sussing out belonging. If belonging is going to be a challenge for you, because we underestimate the power of our ability to truly show up in our most authentic selves every single day in a place, and that not be something that makes us feel like we are like it's either difficult for others to accept or that we are imposing it upon them. That's how
Mm.
I felt.
I
I felt
guess.
like I felt like I was imposing who I was. It wasn't
Mm.
so much that I felt like it wasn't accepted, but I didn't feel seen
But
or heard.
I'm just gonna play devil's advocate here. It's 1 year. 1 year of feeling like you're not authentic. 1 year of being imposed or
Mm,
whatever. Is
one
it
year's a long
really
time.
worth it? No,
It's a
I.
long
To be
time.
honest with you, I moved to Indiana. I was like rural part of Indiana. You think that I might have been like the first Asian most people have seen in that area? You think that like deterred me from doing what I needed to do though?
It's
Like
not a deterrent.
I
It's not
didn't
a
feel
deterrent.
like cultural wise they very much love their farms, their state fairs, their pigs. They talk about like obsessing with their pigs. You understand? Like they feed their pigs this beer and they're like, you want to come over? And I'm like, no, I'm busy. I was busy. But you think like I felt like I was going to be best friends with all these people? There were people that were very hesitant. They were very nice, but they were hesitant to interact with me in a very deep, meaningful way.
That's belonging.
But I didn't care.
Okay,
Because
but that's you. I did.
I know, but I'm saying that you can also choose not to care.
You can,
Because
but
you
it's not.
can.
I
Because
think
you're
you're
only there for a
oversimplifying it.
year. No, I'm
You're
not. Because
simplifying it.
I was able to do it. So like
No,
I don't
but
think that I oversimplified it. Like
I
I just
think you do.
decided
I
this was not
really,
going to affect
I
me.
strongly disagree with the power that belonging has and the
But you
responsibility that a place has to ensure that it doesn't matter who comes into that place. At minimum, that person should not feel that who they are is somehow either infringing, unwelcomed, or is something that they need to adjust in order to be able to do what's required
well
of them. I don't come here to make friends. I come here to learn. And my problem is when I'm coming here trying to learn and focus on why I'm actually here, all of those other factors are getting in my way as a speed bump. We all got through it, but for like the issue is never for the 80% that get through it, but there is a small percentage of people that it can have a lasting impact on whether they even finish. People drop out over this, and these are not because they're weak or anything, but it's because the conditions become unbearable where they feel like it is actually it is actually hindering my ability to learn.
can you give an example, because it's hard for people to empathize with these stories
Okay.
without a specific example.
So,
We are literally being like, well, maybe you can suck it up, kind of. So give us an
yeah,
example so we can
right?
empathize.
And so for a student, a candidate who is an LGBTQ plus person, they didn't show up as a different version of themselves. In fact, during their interview, they talked about the decision to openly express who they are as one of the things that they are most proud of when that question came up during the interview. If that candidate is ranked and that candidate matches and they get to your campus and they are having challenges assimilating not just with the entire place, but within the department that they interviewed with and matched, that is deeply problematic to me. And if that person feels like I've ignored it all my life, I have those too. Like, I'm just shocked that this is happening here because
Wait, let's go back to
I'm
the purple hair lady. Or
huh,
sorry, purple hair
a
person.
person, the
Yeah.
purple hair person, right?
So did they feel discriminated against because of the way of their sexual orientation? Was
Not
that
discriminated. It wasn't discrimination.
they
It
just
was
didn't
just
feel
like,
like they belonged there?
yes, they were left out of things, and then comments, um, passive aggressive comments were made to them about them. Emails that were being, I don't know how people are still this stupid, but emails that were being exchanged about them ended up being accidentally linked to those emails, saw the language that
Whoa.
was being used. So, of course, now there's a huge departmental meeting
So
and a
that
come
is a
to Jesus.
legitimate problem, though, because you're
Yes.
saying that there is actual
Things.
discrimination, bullying at work,
Yes.
harmful work environment.
Behavior.
So that is
Yes.
it's its own thing. But I'm saying with my experience, maybe they talked shit about me behind my back, but I
Would
didn't
you?
notice that. And again, it's like I just maybe chose not to like put my I guess my attention to that because I was so
Yes.
focused, I think, on
Yes.
what I needed to get done.
Yeah.
And so it's like I'm kind to everybody and they're kind to me up front. So like that's all I need. But I did I ever feel like I belonged there? Like no. But like I guess again it's like that person recognized that there was actual bullying at the workplace, and that is a legitimate concern for anybody, no matter what they
What?
are or who they are. Like that is an actual problem, right? So that is beyond, I think, the belonging piece. I think that is a legitimate problem at the workplace. Like that is
Yeah, but
really a
it's
toxic
it
work
it
environment.
falls it falls under belonging. And the reason why even diversity, equity, and inclusion, the reason why belonging is being attached now is the reckoning with the fact that you cannot just allow people in and not have the work environment that supports those people being able to thrive under in those environments. That is belonging. We can't continue to invite people to the high school dance and leave them on the wall and not invite them to the dance floor to dance with us. Don't invite them to the dance. But diversity, equity, and inclusion, those three have been such a force and so driven, and we are not understanding that it is only half of the story if we are not recognizing that it's a real thing, that we can get people that are different from us in more than just race and gender, but they are different from us in how they think. They're different from us and from culturally. Diversity transcends race, and this is very well established. If we decide that we are going to commit to a culture that promotes that, we have got to also spend the time and energy to make sure that people who don't look like the majority of us can come in here and they find their footing, because everyone is not going to have the mental fortitude of just be like, that was my attitude during residency. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not in a market for new friends. Like, I couldn't care
I
less
wasn't
what
even
was
like,
being said.
it wasn't even friendship though to
Like,
me. It
I
wasn't.
couldn't care. Like, I don't remember ever being so disconnected from the conversations and things that were going on around me, because I just felt like I was clear on my mission and reason for being here. And anything
Yeah,
that didn't interfere with that was not something that I was going to have any type of energy
right.
expenditure towards. And I give that advice. But when some of the examples are specific where what you're saying, it's straight up bullying,
That's not
and
appropriate.
and also like preceptors engaging in gross unprofessional behavior, like contributing to gossip, information about residents that should be confidential or being shared with staff that are not on the residency advisory committee. It is problematic,
Right.
and they have nowhere to go for it.
So I
There's
think that again, like when it comes to belonging, that is kind of a nuanced conversation because how much, especially you're talking about a residency program where it's just 1 year. I understand belonging is important in a long term employment, right? You don't want to be working somewhere for 10 years and feel like nobody wants to include you in anything and all of that. But to be honest, too, I feel like there are workplaces that I've been in where I don't feel like I am included in certain like conversations, not like professional, but like more friendly conversations or anything
social.
like that,
Yeah.
social. And to be honest, like I've made my peace with that because I'm like, well, if I can't find it at work, then I'll go find it somewhere else. And work is just work. And I'm able to compartmentalize that.
Yeah.
As long as I don't feel attacked, as long as I
Yeah.
don't feel abused or neglected in any major way,
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that. You know, I can make
Yeah.
peace with it. And so I think it is kind of on an individual basis. And that's
It
why
is.
employment or like the employer has a hard time, I think, with all of that because it's so like some people just have certain needs and other people don't. And like how much is it the responsible on yourself, this responsibility on yourself, and then how much is the responsibility on the workplace too? Like I think there has to be a balance. Like we can't just be like
I
your workplace has to be so inclusive. It's I don't know if that's even possible. You know,
I
because
think
people have
I
biases.
people have biases, but I also think that it can be very clear when a place isn't diverse. We know that there's such a thing as trying to overdo it, maybe, but lack of diversity in a workplace is not very difficult to spot. Everyone thinks the same, either looks the same, has the same gender,
Yeah.
has the same race, has the same work experiences. Lack of diversity is not hard to spot. When places like that reckon with that and they want to course correct, I admire and respect it. But I always think the belonging piece needs to be a part of the conversation. Hiring someone different is a great start, but hiring someone different to bring them into an environment that is not prepared for them, and there's nothing in place for them to know that if they are having X, Y, and Z type of challenges, there are people, there are resources. that would be willing to know that these things are going on and help address it. The email in particular that ended up coming to her was her voicing her concerns about what was going on and them making light of that situation in an email exchange,
Right.
right? And now she's gone into self-protective mode. And what
Yeah,
is
that's
that?
tough.
I come,
Hmm.
I do what's expected of me, and I go home. But I have no interest beyond that because I know that this is not the place where anyone here is interested in getting to know me or even having the bare minimum, which are civil conversation. That to me is problematic. And I think we need a system of when people have experiences like that should be brought to ASHP's attention. It's their job to accredit these programs. And you're asking residency programs to show you, as part of their accreditation process, what measures are they taking to improve diversity, equity, and inclusion without giving program any resources on how they're going to do this and do it well and safely. So people who end up in these places can do what they're there for. No one's signing up for residency so that who they are is a token and on display. Like, that's not why I'm here. I'm here for a very specific reason. And outside of that, we shouldn't be having an exchange or discourse over anything else. That to me is why I always include belonging as part of the
Well, here's the
conversation
thing.
because
I just also want to add though, like as somebody who always feel like they don't belong anywhere in any space, I really do feel like I'm a misfit in most places. I don't think that always focusing on that piece is going to be the most effective because as
I
Brene Brown
agree with
said,
that.
like Brene Brown said, if you're going to walk into a room and only focus on why you don't belong there, you're going to find it. So,
That's true, but it's also when the room is designed to make me stand out, it is impossible for me to not be cognizant of the fact
you will be
that
cognizant of it.
yeah, but and again, right? So how I respond to it, we are creating a difference without a distinction. We are saying that the environment is the environment. You may have no control over that. And how you respond to that, you still have a lot of power over that.
Yeah.
100% agree. What I am trying to say is that the existence of the environment is a problem that needs to be addressed because there is no reason why you should invite people into a space that is designed for them to be on display all the time. I don't think that those two truths can coexist. I think that in fact the reality is that those two truths exist side by side, and when it's interfering with people's ability to learn because they either don't have the maturity, the life experiences, the way they were brought up. They don't have the mental stamina and capacity to be able to rise above it. We run into issues where we cause long-term damage to people when the intent wasn't that. No one matches a resident because I want to destroy you mentally. No one does that. No one goes into it for that. But when we start to see people dropping out of program because of it, hair loss, being admitted for psychiatric emergencies, and then the doctor is saying to you, it just sounds to me like you are in an unhealthy what? I don't think that that's worth it or will ever be worth it. Yeah, I want to empower everyone to be mentally strong, and like the Black women I talk to, they already know what the deal is. You prepare yourself for the othering experience. If you're lucky to find yourself in an environment that is not othering, you wrap your arms around that because you know how rare it is, you cherish it and you appreciate it. But those that find themselves in the environment where the other is just so loud and so present, I work with you to help you survive that environment in the form of refocusing your mind, the things you can control. And let's remember, why are you there? Like, you're not there for lifelong friendships and relationships. You're there to get something out of this place so you can actually move forward, not move on, but actually move forward with the skill sets that you need in order to have the career that you know you can have.
That's a tough, honestly, that's a really, really tough conversation because
It's tough on all levels. Like we're
it's tough
not the
on all
only two
levels.
people that are like having this
Because
conversation. Like,
it's hard for me. I understand, you want to feel like you fit in and you want to feel comfortable in this
I don't think
environment.
belonging is about fitting in, though. That's another myth of it. It isn't about fitting in.
You
It
want to
is
feel
just
just like psychologically safe, I guess, is part of
no,
psychological
that's not
safety.
it
See, like,
either.
I don't understand what is
Yeah,
it that people are looking for then? Like, what is it that you want?
it's not. It isn't like you
It's
feel
just
unsafe or anything. It's
what
just that when I'm in this place, I have to. Have you heard of code switching? Do you know what that is?
I don't know. Maybe? Oh, yes, you've talked to me about this before. You change your demeanor in a certain environment.
Yes. Code switching is in the presence of certain people or in a certain environment. Like my vocabulary could be really different versus in the presence of certain people.
That's normal. That's
I
literally
make
normal.
sure I don't know that that's
It's
normal.
normal.
It is
Sorry,
not
it's
normal. If
life.
you're a
I'm
black
sorry.
woman, if you're a black person in America, code switching is an actual boot camp you go to. You learn how to
That
articulate
is
yourself.
wild.
Yeah,
But
you learn how to articulate. Like we code switch all the like. If I see another African person, we are likely to code switch on contact. The way I would talk to that person in that oh, do we need to do a whole conversation on code switching? Because
but I'm saying, like, for
it's a
example,
whole thing that is real and corporate. It's not just farm. It
it's
is a
real
real,
corporate.
it is a
But do you think
reality.
I have a question though? Like, for example, I read like Michelle Obama's book on becoming,
Uh-huh.
and she talks about being in the White House with Barack Obama, and they had to work so hard not to create any kind of scandal or drama, just because they know that there's so much scrutiny can happen with them, right? But do you think that like they allowed all of that to affect the 8 years that they were in office though? Like
They
they
had no
just kind of
choice.
took it in, but that's what I'm saying. Is like you're in a program, yeah, you feel like you have to code switch. Yeah, you feel like you have to do these things. But it's like it's for the betterment of your own career and your own life. And that's I think
What
how
was the
the
benefit for the Obamas to go through all that? Like for her to not wear braids when she wanted to wear braids,
they're
for her
like
to
freaking famous and now they're successful and they can do anything they want. They can make impacts and changes and they have a voice, they have an
they
influence. They
didn't go into it for that. They went into it because they felt they had something to offer on a large scale. And the idea that who they
Yeah,
were and how they
exactly.
wanted to surface that needed a strategic plan is disturbing.
No, but it's they know that that's what it needs to be done
I
in
know.
order to
Well, I
them
mean,
for
it's
them
the
to reach
same.
their goal. Like I don't
It's
think
the
they're
same.
sitting around being like, "Oh my gosh, I had to code switch for 8 years." Like they knew that that was part of it and they just embraced it as part of what they needed to do to get where they want to
Yes, but
go.
what we are hopefully talking about here is the fact that that exists. It's
And
not what
it
needs to be
sucks.
done.
I'm not
It's the
saying
fact
like
that that exists and the fact that that is a reality of all of our lives. The fact that that exists is problematic in too many ways. Too many ways.
I understand. Like, do you think Trump has to do any of that shit? No. Do
Yeah.
you think Trump's ever been asked to
No.
show his birth certificate? No, like it's disgusting things. But at the same time, it's like how much you think they sit around and like let that marinate in their bodies though? How much
I
you think
don't
they bring that up like no, they have this vision that they want, they have this goal and it's like we can do whatever, but as long as we can like bring the Affordable Care Act to America, as long as
yeah.
we can do amazing, amazing work, right?
Yeah.
They don't give two shit that they had to do the other stuff because what they
But they
can
were
bring.
affected by it in a
Do you
long
think
term. Their kids
so?
were affected by it in a long term, in a meaningful, deeply, deeply impactful way. It's why it made its way into the book because she knows that that is not something that happened just to them because they ascended to the highest office in the land, but it's something that the person that's working at the tiny company around the corner has to do every single day. The reason why, like the Michelle Obama example, could also be important is, yes, to your point, the things they wanted to accomplish, they accomplished it. They signed up for it. It doesn't make it right. The reason why we talk about it is so that people who are oblivious to it, that it exists, that they are cognizant that there is a way that somebody who is not like us could come in here and they may not fit in here as well. What are some things that we can do about that? I don't go in and looking around to fit in anywhere. I mean, part of the reason why I have had a very challenging career, no matter how early it was more my mentality is the other way around. You're going to take this how I serve it. I'm not interested in adjusting and any like it's big, it's loud, it's bold. I'm serving it up that way. And I have paid for that. I have paid for that, like dearly, that desire to just say that I'm not going to conform. I've paid for that. But for some, it's just like it's easier for some than others. And the people that inbox me with this challenge are not the majority. The other people that I see at mid-year and it's a conversation in person, they're just like, yep, halfway there. We're going to get through it. I know what I'm doing here. I know what I have to do. And my response is the same to them always. There's a network of us that have gone through this, that understand this, that can show you how to navigate this successfully. You don't need to do it by yourself and you don't need to carry the burden by yourself. Reach out because there are too many of us that share this experience that can tell you, let go of that. That is not where your time and energy should be going. You're not going to, even if they resolve that, that's not going to help you become the resident you want to be, to move on to be the pharmacist you want to be. Let go of that. Those truths exist in the network as well. And saying, that's not where your energy should go.
I did the same thing, right? When I was in Indiana, like the coworkers that I had, I may not have connected with them at all. And so I formed a different group of friends. And like a lot of us, they're not Asians. There's not a lot of Asians in Indiana. But there was like one Vietnamese restaurant and then it was okay. But it was funny because like a lot of us would go there. Like we went there several times. It's actually kind of funny. Like, oh, let's just get pho or whatever. But oh, there's actually a really good sushi restaurant in Indianapolis. Anyways, but I'm saying like, yeah, work didn't provide you with the support, and so you find it elsewhere. Like it doesn't always have to be like you can't just rely on this one environment to give you what you need. And in general, and that's life, like one friend is not going to provide you with everything you need. That's why you have to surround yourself with so much, a whole community.
Yeah. Yes.
You have to surround yourself with community because like one friend may not want to go to that event with you, but then the other friend will. And
it's like, what? Let's go.
You're never just feeling like, oh, but the reason why there is a pushback in my part is I feel like a lot of us can use this idea of like, well, I don't belong here, and then create so much narrative that will hurt you at the end. And I also don't want that to happen.
It gives birth to a lot of self-limiting thoughts.
I just don't want people, like especially, other Asians like me, right? Like I think a lot of us, a lot of Asians who grew up in California, they're surrounded by Asian communities and they're so used to that kind of energy. And then when they come out of that, like to Arizona, for example, there's not a big group. You will feel like a huge shock. Or like if you live in Kansas City or something, there's just not a big Asian community. And then, you're always going to feel like you don't belong. Like that's what I mean. I grew up in Arizona. I always feel like I don't belong. Yeah. And if I allow that to affect me, then like I wouldn't get to where I am. And so I just hope that we're not always just waiting for the system to change because it may not.
No. I pray to God, if you're listening to this, I pray to God that the system is not what you think is going to make this, is going to get you through. It's going to get you through this. It's not the system. It's you.
It's the system can definitely help you. And we hope to like create a system where it can be this diverse, inclusive.
I love your optimism.
And belong. But listen, if, for example, if a certain candidate gets elected in the office for 2025 and who knows for how long after, you cannot rely on like, I want a place that I can feel like I belong in, because you may not find it ever. Trust me, I am somebody who's gone from place to place to place to place looking for belonging. I'm creating a community so I can feel belonging.
Yeah.
You understand? Like I
So
always
you
feel like I
find
don't
it and
belong.
create it. Yeah.
You find it, you create it yourself, and even if you don't find it ever, you just accept that that is the life, and like you
No,
accept.
I refuse to accept
No,
it.
it's called radical acceptance, and it's good for your mental health to just be
No,
like, you know what? It's okay. It's the same thing as failure. It's the same thing as I embrace failure. I embrace not feeling like I belong, but that's okay. And I know that sounds freaking crazy, but when you let go of like having to feel this exact thing, I need to feel this exact thing to be this exact way. That
but
is so much pressure on yourself.
it's
Just
so much
allow
pressure.
yourself to
But
live.
let me tell you
Like
what,
having
like,
this deep philosophical conversation. I hope people
I
enjoy this so
know.
far.
We,
Hi.
we listen, we need to wrap this up. But
I
I
know.
want to tell you, like, for me, as a Black woman in America, the simplest form of belonging I'm looking for, it's just acknowledgement of my presence. I cannot tell you how many times I have sat in and could not get a word in. It's as if I was not there. And there are people answering questions about my department for me as if I'm not there. I'm not looking for a red carpet. I'm not looking for open arms. I am looking for the simplest form of belonging in the form of acknowledgement of I am in the room, I am present, I have a voice, and when I use it, you will learn very quickly that I'm not afraid to use that voice. And it has a lot of things it wants to share, right? And it's why, to me, I'm passionate about supporting people who have challenges in this area, but I'm also not dishonest about what they are up against and telling them that the thing you want out of the place, the thing you want out of the person, the thing you want out of the situation, the thing you want out of the system may never come. What you have to do is figure out your own way of overcoming so that you are still accomplishing, you're still getting what you want. Find a mentor, find a community, band with other people that have gone through this successfully. Please stay away from the person who didn't go through it successfully. They don't have nothing for you. They're just gonna help
Bring
join
you
you, and
down. They're
y'all
gonna bring you down.
y'all are gonna have a pity party, and then you're the guest of honor at the pity party. You don't want to be at anyone's pity party. You want to connect with people that have figured out how to successfully navigate this thing so you can move forward. And this is going to be my favorite episode because Stu and I fundamentally have disagreed for a
We
change.
did. Because I feel like I don't belong anywhere. Like legitimately. I
But
don't belong
I hate
anywhere.
that for you, though. I hate that that's
But I don't
like
know if
this
I'll
thing.
ever find the group, or I don't know if I'll ever find it,
Yeah,
because my life experience is so different and unique, but I also embrace that. And I
that's
have
so
supportive
interesting.
people in my life. I have you. I
Yeah,
have
yeah,
I have
no,
people
it's
who will lift
so,
me up, and I
yeah,
don't know if I necessarily am always, I don't know if that's something that I'm gonna chase anymore.
yeah.
So
Oh,
anyways, but I
I'm chasing it. I'm chasing it. I'm chasing
yeah,
it for sure. I,
that's what I'm
I want
saying.
it. I
You and
want
I do
it
have a
where I
disagreement
work.
on this, because as soon as I'm like, all right, well, if they're not listening to my voice here, then I'm going to go find a different group where they will listen to my voice. See ya. I'll talk to you guys later. And that's what I do, though.
Wish you well.
Peace.
Wish you
Oh, you
well.
want me to help you work on that thing? No thanks. I've got other things I got to
I'm
do.
gonna go that
But
way.
that's how I've always been, and that's my response to this belonging. Is like, oh, if you guys aren't going to treat me the way that I want, then peace.
Yeah.
I'm going to find the people that will. And I always
Because
find
there's
them.
no shortage of it.
I
There's no
always find
shortage
them.
of places that are
Anyways.
looking for talented, passionate people like yourself.
But you guys, thank you so much for listening, because this episode is so long. If this episode
Thank you.
speaks to
Thank
you,
you guys for listening.
to us,
We hope this ignites a beautiful exchange because of how different we think about this issue.
yeah,
But I just want to plug that this conversations like this, exchanges like this is why we created Hey RX Friends. We want to talk about it. We want to hear each other. More importantly, the people that are like, I'm a misfit and I love it and I don't care about changing anyone.
I don't love it.
Listen,
I
go
just
find
accept it.
Thu. You and Thu can be your own little community.
Oh my
The
God.
folks
We
that
can
want
feel
to
belonging
change.
together. The misfits feel belong together. Hi. But that's what I was telling you in pharmacy school. My little group was the misfits, and I tell
told me
you,
this
I
before. I
feel
remember
like
it.
I do not belong anywhere. Anyways, but yeah, you guys, we are
It's
here
true.
for
It's true.
you. This, yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, honestly, this conversation was supposed to be like professional confidence, and
Confidence. And now we've gone
we'll
into
do that.
it.
We'll do that
The
another time.
title has to change because this was the conversation.
The
Belonging,
title is
to
Thu and
belong or not to belong.
Thu
That
and
is the
Saley
question.
arguing about belonging.
No, that's not the question. To
But
belong
seriously,
or not to belong.
yeah. If you guys do find this episode special and if it speaks to you, please share it with other people, because I think that it might help others from just listening to us kind of dissecting in what it all means. Yeah, so send this episode to them and help us reach more people.
Please. Thank you so much for listening. If this episode speaks to you, and you have to cut that out because I'm reading your outro that you just did.
Oh.
This episode is available
I didn't even notice.
Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Your likes, your comments, your shares of this episode, and the 31 others. Oh my God. We're officially bingeable. I'm going to say that every time. I am on my belly at your feet, begging for your follow, your likes, your subscriptions. Please, please, please support us as we continue to grow and excel and have more transparent conversations like this. And just don't forget that all of our handles will be linked below in the episode description. And until next time, friends, don't forget it. Whether you belong or not, we got this.
We got this. Bye.